Abraham Lincoln was elected in 1860 as a Republican. He ran against Southern Democrats who chose to protect slave owners. The key thing to know is that over the next 100 years, the parties would swap positions on race and civil rights.
During the 1860s, Republicans, who dominated northern states, orchestrated an ambitious expansion of federal power, described by the Free Dictionary as a system of government in which power is divided between a central authority and constituent political units. This helped to fund the Transcontinental Railroad, the state university system, and the settlement of the West by homesteaders, and instating a national currency and protective tariff. The Democrats, who dominated the South, opposed those measures. Indeed, according to the author George McCoy Blackburn, the French newspaper Press stated that the Republican doctrine at this time was the most liberal in its goals but the most dictatorial in its means. After the United States triumphed over the Confederate States at the end of the Civil War, and under President Abraham Lincoln, Republicans passed laws that granted protections for Black Americans and advanced social justice, for example the Civil Rights Act of 1866, though this failed to end slavery. Again, Democrats largely opposed these apparent expansions of federal power. Sounds like an alternate universe. Fast forward to 1936. Democratic President Franklin Roosevelt won re-election that year on the strength of the New Deal. This was a set of reforms designed to help remedy the effects of the Great Depression, which the FDR Presidential Library and Museum described as a severe, worldwide economic disintegration symbolized in the United States by the stock market crash on Black Thursday, October 24, 1929. The reforms included regulation of financial institutions, the founding of welfare and pension programs, infrastructure development and more. It was these measures that ensured Roosevelt won in a landslide against Republican Alf Landon, who opposed these exercises of federal power. So, sometime between the 1860s and 1936, the Democratic Party of Small Government became the Party of Big Government, and the Republican Party of Big Government became rhetorically committed to curbing federal power. According to Rauchway, they, like Republicans, were trying to win the West. The admission of new Western states to the Union in the post-Civil War era created a new voting bloc, and both parties were vying for its attention. Democrats seized upon a way of ingratiating themselves to Western voters. Republican federal expansions in the 1860s and 1870s had turned out favorable to big businesses based in the Northeast, such as banks, railroads and manufacturers, while small-time farmers like those who had gone west received very little. Both parties tried to exploit the discontent this generated, by promising the general public some of the federal help that had previously gone to the business sector. From this point on, Democrats stuck with this stance, favoring federally funded social programs and benefits, while Republicans were gradually driven to the counterposition of hands-off government. From a business perspective, Rauchway pointed out, the loyalties of the parties did not really switch. Although the rhetoric and to a degree the policies of the parties do switch places, he wrote, their core supporters don't, which is to say, the Republicans remain, throughout, the party of bigger businesses. It's just that in the earlier era bigger businesses want bigger government and in the later era they don't. In other words, earlier on, businesses needed things that only a bigger government could provide, such as infrastructure development, a currency and tariffs. Once these things were in place, a small, hands-off government became better for business.
The profit motive, which drove Fudsy to accomplish so much, may bring out the evil as well as the good.
Hello? Fudsy, old boy, I've got a great idea.
Between us, we control 70% of the country's soap sales.
Yeah, but quiet. Let's see what's cooking.
I smell trouble. Let's raise and fix our prices.
Controlling 70% of the market where we'll clean up.
Terrific. We'll make millions. Go.
Quiet. Okay, Sam, it's a deal.
You'll be sorry.